Hey everybody, it's space weather. Looking at the sun in 193 angstroms. You got a coronal hole rotating in and a coronal hole rotating out, from which we are receiving an increased solar wind speed, although it is choppy. Sunspot 2727 sets in the west, and a new active region rises, not to be confused with a sunspot. Let's look at the magnetic lines in 1700 angstroms. The magnetic field from the incoming coronal hole should connect within the next 24 hours. And you see a bunch of jumbled up lines over here associated with the activity, and a little bit of field density here associated with the active regions. Let's check out 171 angstroms. Get a look at this plage, which is rising. It's pretty weak. A little bit of ejecta coming out of the eastern limb of the sun. Nothing to write home about. See you later, Sunspot 2727. And let's check out the filament situation in 304 angstroms. Go. Oh, there's a towering plasma filament in the southeast. Let's close up on that. It's getting higher. It's getting higher. Nice. And this ongoing plasma dance in the eastern limb. Keep an eye on that one. Let's look at some data. X-ray flux is flatlined over the past 24 hours. Nothing significant there. Let's look at the real-time solar wind. Whoops. There we go. Here's your real-time solar wind. You've got the BTBZ. Quite convergent on the zero line there. Nothing too special. We do have an ongoing phi angle signal there. That's a little odd. And we don't expect that to continue. We expect to see a phi angle more like 100 degrees. Solar wind density 6.65. A small uptick. And kind of a sputtering solar wind speed here. Ranging between 450 and 300, so we're getting these little spikes of solar wind speed and density there. That's what happens when the coronal hole wind stream does not directly hit the Earth. Magnetometer is looking weak, or weaker than it was. It's going into a more of a normal range here. And we do expect another spike, maybe not as big as this one, but similar spike coming soon when the incoming coronal hole connects. And the KP index is still at 1, so we've got a minor cosmic ray flux alert. And the electron flux is pretty low, and it appears to be dropping off less and less per day, so in fact, I think today's electron flux dip is already completed. Not a lot of charging hazards, just a little bit. And the F2 layer is looking pretty weakly discharged. That should increase as the day goes on. And now let's get into some weeds. Actually, let's look at the earthquake situation first. There's been a bit of a lull actually in earthquake activity here. And when the magnetic field from that coronal hole connects, we're going to have an increased earthquake risk. While the coronal hole isn't big, it's well defined, so it could have a strong magnetic field. Be keeping an eye on it. So, let's go back 9 hours. We got a 4.6 in Tonga, a 4.7 in Iran. Everything else pretty minor. 4.2 in Turkey. And that's pretty much it. So we've got a lull in earthquake activity here. Anybody in alert zones remains on alert. Let's check out an article by The Sun from the UK. The Met Office warns Britain, which faces the possibility of being crippled by solar storms. It could spark a 5-day blackout, which could destroy your computer. And really, they're underestimating here. If you get a Carrington-like event, such as what happened in 1859, it's going to knock out power grids for a lot longer than 5 days. We shall leave links to the article. Not that interesting of a read for those of you who are familiar with space weather, and some of the information isn't really correct. However, still an interesting read. So check that out. Next, we've got some global warming nonsense. The 467 hazards of climate change from cosmosmagazine.com. This silly article is about global warming. I mean, they think sea levels are going to rise. And, anyway, there's links to another silly site that they created here with stupid graphs and ridiculous data. Probably either cherry-picked or just straight up made up. Any case, we'll leave links to that. Let's look and see how hot it is in the US right now. And to that end, let's look at windy.com. So, as of 5 a.m. on Thanksgiving, reporting 0 degrees Fahrenheit. In central Pennsylvania, Binghamton, New York, 9 degrees. Reading, PA, 17 degrees. Allentown, 16 degrees. Scranton, 8 degrees. What's causing it, you ask? Jet stream meridional flow. And the alarm just went off, informing me that I gotta soak the turkey a little bit more. Going for the rapid thaw. Now, let's look at the NASA GOES water vapor map again. And we're missing data at the beginning. Let's fix that. Just a minor glitch. Here's the US water vapor map. You can see we've got this dry air down here. This dry air down here. Just showing you where the edge of the jet stream is. You've got an upper level low rolling in like this. And your jet stream is coming way down like this. Normally the jet stream travels like this, what we call a zonal flow. But because of the waning magnetosphere, the jet stream is doing more like this of a number. Another indication the planet is cooling, not warming. Let's look at another ridiculous article about global warming from phys.org. Talking about some warm ice. Warm ice, that's right. The glacier, the world's highest glacier on the slopes of Everest, are warmer than expected and especially vulnerable to future climate change, warn glaciologists. So they were drilling and they found a minimum ice temperature of only negative 3.3 degrees C, being a full 2 degrees C warmer than the mean annual air temperature. I have no idea why they're comparing ice temperature to air temperature, but it's a ridiculous article, and we will be happy to leave a link to this one also, so you can maybe lose an IQ point by reading about a bunch of nonsense science. Now, Let's see how warm the atmosphere has been. Here's a measurement of the thermosphere climate index. And it looks kind of low. Interesting. Thermosphere, one of the outermost layers of the atmosphere. According to this graph, like, it's not very hot. I mean, it looks actually well into the cold range. So that's puzzling. Now, let's look at spaceweather.com for a minute about solar minimum conditions in effect. Today, Thanksgiving, is the 191st day of 2018 without sunspots. So, over half the year, no sunspots. Standard grand solar minimum. Let's look at the LASCO C3 real quick. Here's the LASCO. You can see Mercury is catching up to the Earth. And in the background, that is Saturn. How close can we get? No apparent ejecta coming out of the sun. Let's look at the X-ray imager. See how active the active region really is. And the answer is less active than sunspot 2727. A lot less. In fact, we're not really expecting an increase in X-ray flux. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We do appreciate your support, comments, shares, likes, views, etc. Have a delightful Thanksgiving. We recommend a nice Riesling to go with your turkey. And being a connoisseur of cheap wines, we went with Yellowtail. Remember, on your way making turkey, don't drink. And if you drink, well, you're going to drink and make turkey. So, happy Thanksgiving, y'all!